Hi, this is Jay Billis of ESPN, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
The ML Sports Platter back with you all over the major platforms. Download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review. You can hit me on Twitter at Mike L. Sports. And of course, we are presented by the Allen Angus Pub, Brewerton Ace Hardware, Ken's Auto Detailing, and Axe Exotic Pets. Route 11 Cicero. If you're in and around central New York, make sure you get on over to Axe Exotic Pets for all of your turtles and lizards and different birds. They've got a bunch of your different amenities and aquariums, etc., to help out your exotic pet as well. Axe Exotic Pets, a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. And a big tip of the cap thank you as well to Bryant and Stratton College and our friends, the Swan and Whitaker families, for their support of the platform as well. Let's bring him in, the longtime author, columnist, storyteller, TV contributor at Scott Pitoniak on Twitter. We're going to get into some of the awesome Field of Dreams articles he's written the last week or so. We're going to talk some Yankee baseball, some Major League Baseball, preview the Syracuse football season, and if we have some time at the back end, dabble into some Buffalo Bills football. Scott, welcome back, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike. It's always fun.
So I came to a recollection during the Yankee doubleheader win over Boston, and I wanted to lead with this for you, because you know that I've been barking up the tree of, hey, I'd rather have this Yankee team lose 90 games, bottom out, finish in last place, if it meant Hal Steinbrenner waking up. But you know what? I don't think he's ever going to wake up, and I don't think there's ever going to be changes. I think this is how it is. Aaron Boone's the manager, Cashman's the GM. Hal isn't going anywhere. He's got less than probably 10% of fire than his father had. Not saying he has to be George, but a little bit more George would be nice. So I just sat back and said, you know what? Whatever. I guess this is just how it has to be. I might as well root for these guys. And you know what? I give them credit. They've made up 9 games on this Boston team, Scott.
Yeah, I'm high on this team, with the exception, of course. We can get into this in deeper detail. The bullpen has become the Achilles heel, but I got to give this team a lot of credit. I mean, given the devastating, disheartening losses, including most recently the one in that spectacular Field of Dreams game in Dyersville. They just keep coming back, and so they're showing me something that I wondered if they had, and that was heart, and if they cared, and they do. They're resilient. Can they continue on? I don't see any reason why they can, unless they continue to have a rash of injuries or COVID problems and stuff. But so I'm kind of bullish on the way they're playing, and again, I think we talk about the ultimate, and with the Yankees, it's always about measured if you can get to the World Series and win the World Series, which is not easy, by the way, no matter who you are. But I just don't know if the bullpen is going to be up to that, because this is a team right now that does not have a closer. No lead seems comfortable. You've got that feeling that as resilient as this team is, is enough runs. You're always worrying about that. And, Mike, I was thinking again, not to, constantly live in the past or whatever, but it just, again, underscores the greatness of Mariano Rivera.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, he blew saves. He blew a number of saves in his career. I get all that, but I mean, it's so unusual, so rare to find someone like that who is so consistently great. You just don't find it, and we're not looking for that. That team doesn't need Mariano Rivera to win it all, but it does need a closer. It does need a fairly dependable closer, and right now, I don't know if this team has a closer. I mean, maybe Loizaga is going to develop into that. He's got electric stuff, but we all know it's not about stuff. It's about what's above your
make up your mind. Absolutely,
your heart.
Yep.
Yep. And you've got to have that great amnesia, and you've got to have that great confidence.
Sure.
To bounce back and stuff. So, but I mean. Yeah, like they made their big moves, and I give Cashman credit, with Gallo and Rizzo. I've got to give them some due right now in terms of, Tyone he's kept this team alive. I mean, let's be honest. Like his last 8 starts, something like 6-0, and with a 2.20 ERA. So he's kind of come on. So that's worked out for them, and it might even get Corey Kluber back for the stretch run, and that would be, pun intended, a great shot in the arm. And if you can get Herman back, Domingo Herman, I don't know about Severino. I mean, is he ever going to amount to what we saw there for a half a season? Just a completely dominating pitcher or whatever. But there's been some positive developments, and we spoke before, and I said I was really high on Jordan Montgomery, and if the poor guy, if they could only get him some
runs,
freaking runs,
yeah,
get him 2, okay? Like I'm not being greedy, but my goodness gracious, like the guy is such a hard luck pitcher. So and I think by adding Gallo certainly and Rizzo improve you defensively. And this is another, I think, another big problem for this team remains its defense. We saw that in last night's game where Tyler Wade is not a shortstop, and that ball should have been fielded. They should have been out of that inning. Fortunately, they worked out of it. But there's a lot of positive things I'm seeing here, and I think the thing that impresses me most is that this team showed some heart, and that they seem to be resilient, and that's an important attribute.
So there's another factor coming here with Rizzo. You mentioned him, and by the way, who knew that you needed a couple of lefty power guys with a short porch, right? Who knew? I mean, it only took how long? You get rid of Didi. Who knew that would have given you a jolt in the arm? Wow, amazing! Wow.
Yeah.
But Gallo and Rizzo are, their additions. The Italian American thing is going in New York. People are having fun. There's confidence. There's Rizzo comes from a championship clubhouse. In 16 with the Cubs wins it all. They've both been really good for the Yankees, the team, the psyche, the confidence, the makeup, the balance, the versatility. But now Rizzo comes back from the corona here, and it's an interesting dilemma because Luke Voigt already talked in the media. I read some stuff this morning. He's like, hey, I deserve, to play as much as he does. That's true, but the problem I still think lies in Giancarlo Stanton. Are the Yankees going to stop babying him, and can Giancarlo Stanton stop being a one-dimensional player? Go play left field, homie, because that allows us to see Luke Voigt as the DH and Rizzo playing first. You cover it all. Everybody's hitting, you're balanced, and the defense is better.
Yeah, I think they have no choice now. Since I'm surprised that they clearly tried to move Voigt. There's no question about it. But here's a guy who's got all these injury problems, right? Here you go again. You're really reluctant about this guy because he's that big, bulky guy who always gets hurt or whatever, So they couldn't move him, and now you have this dilemma. Hopefully, it's a good dilemma. All right, Luke, shoot your mouth off or whatever, but keep talking with your bat and force the issue. And you're right, they have no choice now, but Stanton has to put the glove on. And then you're going to have to get him out in the 7th inning if you have a lead, and you could put Gardner or Gallo is very good defensively and stuff, and that he made that throw against Boston that kept the guy in third.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
yep.
Those are little things that we don't think about, but that's what championship teams do.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And he's really Boyd is really shooting his mouth off quite a bit lately, and again that's fine. But let your stick do, their big stick do the talking.
Right.
And,
well, you got to be healthy, too. I mean, for a guy who gets hurt a lot, he talks a lot of junk. I mean.
Yeah, he really does. He's got this swagger, and that's fine and so forth. Plus, the other thing here, Mike, and we just talked about defensively, Rizzo's a far superior player. I mean, anybody at first base, put LeMahieu. I mean, and Voigt is a sub defensive player. I mean, you remember that earlier game, he drops that pop foul and stuff. I mean, come on, you got to make these plays because you can't keep giving outs. When you have a bullpen, it's not super dependable right now, and when you still at times have problems scoring runs despite the additions of Gallo and Rizzo. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But it's sometimes these can be great dilemmas if guys are producing. Keep mounting up, but keep talking with your bat and force the issue.
There's no question. Scott Pitoniak with us, Rochester Business Journal. Make sure you go check out his work, by the way, and get him on Twitter at Scott Pitoniak. Scott, let's dive quickly into the Field of Dreams stuff, and then I got one baseball question on the other side of that, and then I will we'll rip right into some Syracuse football predictions and St. Bonaventure grabbing a new AD with really connections all over the place. How about the two articles that you wrote? Tell my listeners, the first one was about the couple there from Rochester who got married. What a great story that was. They almost lost their lives on the way out there. Let's hit that. And then obviously the one I read this morning is, look, not that the rest of your stuff hasn't been great. This one, for me, really takes the cake. It's got to be a top 5 or 3, or if I had to do my power ranking of Scott Pitoniak articles, because I couldn't agree with you more. Baseball, market yourself. They knocked it out of the park with the Field of Dreams. The ratings showed it. So get into that a little bit. Let's not stop here, right? Let's get to Cooperstown. Let's get to some of these other areas. Let's get to Alabama. Let's celebrate the Negro Leagues.
Yeah. I think this was, we've both been very critical of baseball, the way it's run, and so forth. This one they hit out of the park, and as I said, into the cornstalks. I mean, this was a magical night. I know that there are a lot of people that don't like the movie. They think it's all sappy and this and that, and baseball gets criticized for relying too much on nostalgia, where I would argue that you have it over every other sports when it comes to nostalgia.
Yeah.
Play it up.
Not even close.
Play it up.
Yeah.
And this what was very encouraging about this, the ratings, you had the best regular season television ratings in 16 years. At a time when, the NFL dominates everything here, even in August with training camp and stuff. Yeah. So that was significant, but you had your largest audience in a decade for, or more than a decade for women and teenagers, which is essential.
Yeah.
You've got to grow. This has got to become a younger demographic that this game appeals to. So you struck upon something there that was magical. And, now you need to take this, as I wrote my column today, is that you need to go to other fields of dreams. And number one, you got to go to Cooperstown.
No doubt.
You've got to get back to this. I've been on MLB's case ever since they stopped playing this game. Now, the players are at blame here, too, because, woe is me, we can't do that. We have such a jam-packed schedule. We play every, and I appreciate that to a certain extent. It is the biggest grind in sports. There's no question about it. No other sport where you're playing every single day. I get it, and days off are valued. But, you've set the precedent now. Sure. And the players I haven't read any negative comments from any of the players. In fact, I just think they were blown away from the White Sox and the Yankees for participating in that and how cool it was and everything. And, so go do this in Cooperstown. Have a regular season game. And again, we're going to hear all these things about, all this other – well, that stuff's gone now because you went to Little Dyersville, Iowa, and you made it work. I don't want to hear about the parking. They the annual exhibition Hall of Fame game would routinely sell out 10,000 fans there. And you and I both know it's not easy to navigate Little Cooperstown or to get there and so forth. You make it work. You made it work for 80,000 fans to come see Ripken and Tony Gwynn be inducted. You can work it out. Baseball needs to go there. This is the heart of baseball. It's not the birthplace, but it is the heart and soul of baseball. Cooperstown, New York. Go pour some money in. If you've got you got to rebuild and put a screen up higher in left field, or temporarily. And if you've got to drill out and push back the outfield dimensions a little bit in center and right, you can do it. They can do that temporarily.
And Scott, you know what else? New York. Friday night, City Field. National audience. Saturday afternoon or evening, Fox national audience. Sunday night baseball, capping the Subway Series in Cooperstown.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So that's a no-brainer. And I posed you could have a Bull Durham night in Durham, North Carolina.
That's a good one.
You could go to Rickwood Field,
Oh.
which most people don't realize is the oldest ballpark in America, in Birmingham, Alabama, and it was home to the Birmingham Black Barons, and Willie Mays played there, and Satchel Paige and all the great Negro Leaguers, Josh Gibson, played games there. Go there and honor the Negro Leagues.
Yep.
Go
Yep.
play a game there. The possibilities are endless. Fly with this now. You're onto something here that struck a chord with people. And, yes, do it in Dyersville again, for sure. But, go other places and think outside the box. I even suggested, and I know some people are going to get ticked off, like with, have international Field of Dreams games where, you're going to Japan. Go to the Dominican Republic, which, has produced, 800 major leaguers? And go play a game there, or a Roberto Clemente game in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Come on, again, there's all places. I mean, somebody suggested like they could play a game. They could set up a temporary field near Mount Rushmore with Mount Rushmore in the background. Go for it. Think of things that make sense. And I went even further, and people are upset with me on this. Some people are just dismiss everything. Why can't the Washington Nationals come and play a regular season game at Frontier Field in Rochester? Why can't the New York Mets play a regular season game in Syracuse, New York? Why can't they? All right, so again, you've established a precedent here. Like, you took away a home game and those gate receipts from the Chicago White Sox to go play there. Nobody had a problem. And again, I'm only talking a couple games a year. So you take the Mets out of Citi Field and they play one game in Syracuse and whatever. All right. So, whatever, they stuff in whatever the capacity is there, 12,000 or 13,000 or whatever. What's the big deal? One game. Yeah. And this has always been my problem with Major League Baseball. It's like, hey, hello. You've been getting crushed by football and the NBA and whatever, and you've screwed around with the minor leagues. Here is a way to take the show on the road, and there's no substitute for being there, and you can make a fan for a lifetime, a young fan and stuff. So go do it. It's be innovative and think outside the box, and again, just build on what you have an incredible idea that you executed to perfection. Last week in Dyersville, Iowa. Go ahead and do it. Go do it.
No doubt. I got 3 quickies here. We'll go quick here, a couple minutes on each. One, the last one for baseball. How do you think it shakes out? Do the Yankees make the playoffs? Who else makes the playoffs? What's the picture look like for you?
Well, I think the Yankees are going to make the playoffs. I think it would be. I really think they need to shoot to try to win the division, Mike, and that's going to be no easy thing because, man, Tampa is a great organization. They make all the right moves. Look, they don't have they do it on a bare budget. They'll never get tied into like the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers. These long-term contracts, they just won't get hamstrung by that because they can't afford to. So Tampa is, to me, they might be the real deal. Let's not forget they were almost there last year, winning it all. So and it's hard to overlook the Dodgers. They just have so much talent and so forth. So you could have a repeat of that series and so forth. But the Yankees. I think they make the playoffs. They definitely do. Unless the entire roster goes on, on COVID, IL. And I think the White Sox are still a team to be very much reckoned with. Although I wonder about their pitching, and we saw, with the Yankees, Lance Lynn he can't be your ace. Can't be one of your aces or whatever. Even though he's having an exceptional year. So I'm not totally sold on the Giants. But I guess at some point you got to say, like, well, you're 2/3 through the season and they're there. What are you going to do? So, you got to give them their due. But, I think the Dodgers and Tampa are probably your favorites at this stage right now. And it's going to be a really tough go for the Yankees to get over that hump. And plus, Tampa owns the Yankees. Let's face it, head to head.
Yeah, they sure do. Scott Pitoniak, at Scott Pitoniak on Twitter, rbj.net. Go check out his work, the longtime columnist, author, and storyteller, TV contributor as well. Syracuse football, any hope?
Yeah, you know what? Maybe I got up on the right side of the bed this morning, but I've been telling people and that I'm optimistic that they could be halfway decent. They could be a surprise team this year. And the reason I say that is that I think that they've got a solid offensive line. They had an atrocious line last year. Let's face it. I think they've got a guy who's pushing DeVito in Garrett Schrader, the transfer. And I haven't given up on DeVito. I know most Syracuse fans have given up on Tommy, and that's in a Syracuse fan tradition here. Like they just love to tear guys down or whatever, And I just think that the guys had no chance. I mean, I watch those games, and I'm telling people next to me, are you watching the same game I am? Because they're coming after him on every play. He's got no protection, and Dino's not helping him out. The offense is not helping him out by. You got to do some counter plays here and stuff, but just not giving him any help. So, the running backs are solid. I mean, maybe the most depth that they've had in decades. And I like Sean Tucker a lot. He was probably kind of the unsung hero of last year's team, and I think he's got a good chance of, rushing for 1,000 yards and stuff. Taj Harris could break all the records this year, very possible. So I'm a little bit more optimistic that it could unfold a little bit better than people think. And you know what, Mike? It has to for Dino Babers. It's make or break for Dino Babers as far as I'm concerned. There's a big enough body of work and a long enough chance. We always talk about, we don't give people enough time to develop in sports in this day and age, well, he's had plenty of time. He's had 5 seasons and he's had 4 losing seasons. And he's got to prove that the 10-win season wasn't a fluke. And now's the time to start turning it. I mean, I think if they go 6-6 and go to a bowl game, he buys himself some more time or whatever. If they fall flat on their faces and live up to the prognostications that they're gonna, that they're gonna be last in the ACC and have another 1-win season or 2-win season, he's got to be gone. And it's just the reality. You just can't keep going on. It's not working then. That would be 6 seasons. And so again, I'm a little bit more optimistic, I guess cautiously optimistic, that they're going to be a surprise team. Not a major surprise team, but I think that they can be better than most people think.
Okay, final one for you. St. Bonaventure, my alma mater, they are finalizing a deal for Duke Associate AD Joe Manhertz to become the school's next AD, takes over for Tim Kenny. And I know there's connections across the board. He's known, Scott, as you know, as an elite fundraiser. I think a decade plus of experience at Duke, worked at Ohio State, worked at Syracuse, and a little Western New York connection as well. Yeah,
he's from Rochester. I believe he played both football and basketball at Colgate. And I knew Joe a little bit when he was at Syracuse. Very friendly, gregarious guy. I can see why he's very good at fundraising. He's a good people person. And I think given that background, it's not a bad hire. As you mentioned, he's worked at Ohio State. He's worked at Syracuse and most recently at Duke, where he oversaw like the renovation of Cameron Indoor Stadium. So I think it's going to be a good hire. I think he's a positive person. I think he's going to do the fundraising that he needs to do there at that level. And it's not easy, obviously, at Bonaventure, as opposed to when you have a major brand like a Duke or Syracuse or Ohio State. But I think he's certainly paid his dues and is going to apply, some of the things strategy that he did at those universities. And so I think it's good, and he can, he could raise some money to help upgrade some of the facilities there. And also along those lines, like it helps out to, retain quality coaches. I mean, you're not going to do do that all solely with money, but it certainly helps, and if you make more of a commitment to things that you can control, such as facilities and coaches' salaries and things like that, I think that's going to be a positive for them. So, on the surface right now, it looks to me like a good hire, that should help Bonaventure out.
No doubt. Just whoever's in the seat, just keep Mark Schmidt. Yeah, it's all I ask. Right. My goodness.
Yes.
Yep. All right. Well, Scott, this was awesome. Great job on the articles. Again, Scott Pitoniak. Go get him on Twitter at Scott Pitoniak, rbj.net. The longtime author. Go get all of his books online where books are sold as well. TV contributor, getting ready for the NFL season and the Bills, of course. We'll get to that probably next time. Really appreciate it, Scott, and continued success your way. I hope to see you soon here in a few weeks.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that Derek Jeter induction. It's going to be enormous, I think, even though it's on a Wednesday. I think it's going to be a great day for baseball.
The ML Sports Platter is brought to you by Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual, New York State. Tax-efficient retirement planning today with Brian. Make sure you get him at advisors.massmutual.com and on social media, Facebook and LinkedIn, advisors.massmutual.com. Brian Comboy, the official financial advisor of the ML Sports Platter. Tip of the cap thanks as well to Welch & Company Jewelers, the Syracuse Fitness Store, and our terrific friends over at Stanley Law Offices. Visit StanleyLawOffices.com today, StanleyLawOffices.com. Scott Pitoniak's amazing. Really appreciate him coming on. Just an amazing, amazing writer. And the Field of Dreams stuff, I couldn't agree with him more. Make sure you download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review where you get pods on your Apple phone or other smartphone devices. And you can hit me on Twitter at Mike L. Sports as well. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.